Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Roots Advent Devotional Week 2. So Week 2 in the Advent world is the week of peace. And this week, we're going to look at a passage from the book of 2 Peter. Now, you may not be super familiar with the book of 2 Peter, but as you might guess, we believe that it's written by the Apostle Peter, the same guy who was said to be the rock on which the church was built. And he has some interesting ideas in this passage about peace and waiting and how they connect to this idea of peace. So right now, I'm just going to read you the last verse from this passage that you'll be focusing on this week, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So this last verse is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 13. And it says, "But according to his promise, we are waiting for a new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells." Okay, so you may or may not have heard of this idea, but there's this ancient Hebrew concept of shalom. So you may have heard that word, associated or translated as peace, but it works a little bit different than how we sometimes think about peace. So we often think about peace as a lack of conflict or a lack of arguing or a lack of people at animosity with one another or something like that. But in the ancient Hebrew concept of shalom, it wasn't a negative peace, meaning it wasn't a peace because there was a lack of something. It was a positive peace. Instead, you were at peace because you were made complete or you found a sense of wholeness. And so this is the sense of peace that we talk about when we explore the idea of Advent and waiting for Jesus to make all things right. And so in this little verse that we just read, the Apostle Peter talks about this new world, this new heavens and this new earth that we are waiting for, where righteousness dwells. And so one of the things that we talk about when we talk about this new world that is coming, sometimes we call that the kingdom of God. One of the things that we talk about when we talk about the kingdom of God is that it'll be a place where we will be made complete and we will find wholeness, right? It is much like when Adam and Eve were in the garden before what we would call the fall of humanity or the fall of humankind. When they were in the garden, they were able to commune and be with God without barrier, right? There was a sense of completeness because they were able to just be with God without anything getting in the way. And in the same way, in the new heavens and in the new earth, in the kingdom of God, we will also be able to find that completeness and find that wholeness. And in so being, we would then be able to find that peace. Now, there's a couple of things here. Now, Peter talks about waiting for that world. So, one, we can wait for that world where we will truly be at peace and made complete and made whole by being with God without barrier. But in the same way, we can experience some peace knowing that God promises that he's going to bring us, people who follow Jesus, that new world, that kingdom where everything is made right, where righteousness dwells, where we can find completeness and wholeness and peace. We can find peace in just waiting, knowing that God, who always keeps his promises, promised us that new world, and in that promised new world, we will find peace. So this week, what you're going to be reading is 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 6 through 13. Some of it may feel a little bit strange, so I just want you to stick with it. But remember where it ends up in that verse that we just talked about, in the promise of this new world where we can truly find that shalom peace. All right, that's it for week 2. Make sure you read those verses.